I'm going to talk about clawhammer, which is a technique I'm honestly still learning. I think it's neat. It sounds cool, but I could stand to be better at it. But I can tell you kind of the basics. Clawhammer is a technique that uses your thumb and then fingers held together kind of as a unit to create rhythmic, kind of diversified strumming, like a really percussive strumming pattern. It's been explained lots of different ways. You can think of it. The way I kind of think of it is the phrase boom, chicka, boom, something like that, where my thumb plucking a string is the boom, and my claw is the chicka, if you want to think of it that way. So let's talk about the two pieces. Thumb, when I'm doing clawhammer, honestly, my hand stays a lot more still than it does when I'm strumming some other things. I'm always kind of making this sort of like cupped, like a loose fist basically. And I might pluck with my thumb and I might sort of let my fingers kind of explode out from that fist. Like imagine they're kind of spring loaded. They always come back. Or sometimes I'll even only use like, instead of using all 4 fingers and a thumb, I might just use thumb and 2 fingers because I have a little more control. So if you think of like boom chick, what I might do for a boom is pluck just the G string with my thumb, down with my thumb, and then I will strum down with these 2 fingers held together. Like if you're making like finger guns with your index and pointer finger, try strumming down. So you're strumming down on the on your nail, like the top of your nail basically. And they're both strumming at the same time. So let's see if I can strum. They're held together. Let's see if I can aim this. And they're both strumming, if you can see that. So something to try with this would be going boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. Or maybe on a C chord or something like that. Play just the 4th string with your thumb and then strum down with your claw. And you can try, using different configurations. You can use 3 fingers, 4 or 2. See what's comfortable for you. And just grab a chord that you like. It's easy to play because we're mostly thinking about our strumming hands. And go boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. And something else to notice about this is that, so I'm always returning to this sort of fist shape. When I pluck my thumb, my fingers are still gathered, and then I use the claw, or like my fingers sort of explode out from the closed fist, and then they come back. So boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, like that. And then the chicka is if you do an up strum with your fingers that you're holding together, you end up with this boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka. So you have to be really intentional about contacting the strings as you curl your fingers back up into your palm like that. When it gets going really fast, it sounds cool. You'll see a lot of banjo players do this where they look like their hand isn't moving a whole lot, but they're playing pretty fast. They might end up playing like a pretty fast rhythm, or that's like more complicated than what I just did. But so just practice that. I like having more than one sound or texture happening when I strum. So it's kind of cool to you're playing a chord and you're just playing a single note first and then the whole thing. Clawhammer can be combined with finger picking. So what you might hear people do, and you'll hear this on guitar and on banjo and on ukulele, is sort of like create a pattern that's part clawhammer strumming percussively and part finger picking. So it might go like boom, chick, boom, chick. Some practice, but that's the general idea. The song Man of Constant Sorrow is maybe a good one to try this with. It's not how it's always played. Sometimes it's like flat picked. There's lots of different, it's a traditional tune, and you'll hear it played lots of different ways. I heard this song for the first time in my life in the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And honestly, I think that was the first bluegrass I ever heard that got me into it when I was a kid. But yeah, so this is kind of an easy song to try with it. And there's a link in the description under this video to the version I'm using. It's got some bar chords in it, but you don't have to use them. The main chords, it's got F, B flat, C, and C7. And if you know the bar chord forms of B and C, you can use those. B flat always looks like this, where you're barring the first fret, and then your middle finger grabs the second fret of the C, and your ring finger grabs the third fret of the G string. So yeah, your first finger really needs to bar the E and the A strings. You don't have to reach all the way up here if that's uncomfortable. You can just grab these, whatever works for you. The cool thing is, once you can play that shape, if you play this shape in different positions, or like starting at different frets on the fretboard, you're playing different chords. In this, how we learn this shape, probably most of us, is a B flat major, just like that. But if you move it up one fret so that your bar is on the second fret and everything else is in front of that, now it's a B major, like a B natural major. And if you move it up one more to the third fret, now you've got a C major. And you might call this like a C major in the second position. So this chord and this chord are both C, but they're different voicings. So same notes, but they may be stacked in a different order, and can give you slightly different effects. This C, or like I think of this as like the root position C, because it's the first one you learn. It's like down here by the headstock. It involves a lot of open strings where you don't have to fret anything, because I'm only fretting one string. And when I use this C chord, it's like very stable. If I was to use this C chord, there are some songs that have chord transitions where it sounds like the chords are falling in sort of a symmetrical way, like this. And that might be when you want to use a bar chord form, because it lets you kind of, it lets you play the same chords, but to different effect. So there's lots of other, there's a few other movable chord shapes that you can use, but just briefly about those. Movable chord shapes are great. You can find the same chord in a lot of different areas on the fretboard if you know a couple of different bar chord shapes. Anyway, I digress. If we use our sort of claw hammer idea for Man of Constant Sorrow, I'm just going to do, all the verses are the same in terms of their structure. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to apply this to the first verse, and then you can keep going with it if you want. So this song's in a 4-beat pattern, and starts on F. And to practice your claw hammer, what you might do is just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for all of the bars, so that you have an on beat and an off beat. Maybe your thumb is the on beat and your claw, your fingers going down, is the off beat. And just try to play through all the chord changes just like that until it's comfortable, and then you can try to do some slightly more complicated right hand stuff, like adding in finger picking, or instead of just the boom chick, you could do the boom chicka, like that. But so let's just try the simple boom chick version first. So thumb down and then fingers down. Let me get that a little more on the camera. Thumb down and then fingers down. So you've always got this down, 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 down kind of thing happening. Let's try this. We'll just go through the first verse of Man of Constant Sorrow, and I'll try to do the call and the response. It'll be, we'll see what happens. All right. So starting on F, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. I bid farewell boom, chick the whole time. I do like about this song that if you have a group of people playing together, maybe one of you can sing the lead part and the others can chime in with the response. The place where I was born and raised, and everybody else, the place where he was born and raised, can do kind of like it's a cool effect if you've got multiple singers. Okay, so if you go through and do the boom chick and you want to make things a little more interesting or a little more complex, try boom chicka. So it's kind of changing how you're thinking about the beats of the song a little bit. The other thing about clawhammer that I think is important is it sounds very different at a slower tempo than it does at a faster tempo. I can't play super fast, but I think there's a lot of difference between this and this. It's a lot more percussive, I guess, at a faster tempo. So, once you feel comfortable kind of doing the boom chick or the boom chicka, see what happens if you try to increase your speed. I like how it sounds a lot more faster. Like, you can hear a lot of space if you're just doing boom, chick, boom, chick. It sounds really good when it's kind of speedy. But again, this is something that I sort of know how to do and can use a lot more practice on for it to sound really solid. If you get a chance to look at some really traditional kind of bluegrass style banjo players, check them out. People do clawhammer. The clawhammer is probably maybe most famous because of its use on the banjo, and maybe is where the technique originated. The banjo is a big old drum with strings anyway, so it helps to kind of, having a very percussive strumming technique really suits that instrument, and it also sounds good on other instruments like ukulele and guitar. Anyway, so just some right-hand technique for you to try, along with a cool song that's fun to sing with other people. I hope you have fun with it. All right, see ya.